Why the West became its own worst enemy, the role of intellectual elites in cultural subversion. The West didn't fall to external enemies. It was sabotaged from within, not by some grand conspiracy, but by the very people entrusted with preserving its values, its intellectual elites, professors, journalists, bureaucrats, and corporate leaders, those who were supposed to uphold knowledge, truth, and freedom, instead became the architects of its ideological decline. But how did this happen? How did the guardians of reason and progress become the enforcers of ideological conformity? This is the story of how the West became its own worst enemy. For centuries, the Western world was shaped by an intellectual tradition that prized reason, debate, and the pursuit of truth. From the Enlightenment to the Industrial Revolution, progress was driven by open inquiry and the ability to challenge dominant ideas. But in the 20th century, a new breed of intellectuals emerged, one that rejected this foundation. Instead of searching for truth, they fixated on power. Antonio Gramsci's concept of cultural hegemony argued that the ruling class controls society not just through economics, but through ideas, through culture, media, and education. His followers believed that Western institutions had to be dismantled from within. And so, a slow but steady process began. By the 1960s, universities had become breeding grounds for radical ideologies. The Frankfurt School, postmodernists, and critical theorists reshaped education, embedding the idea that Western civilization itself was oppressive. Professors told students that objective truth was a myth. Journalists rebranded activism as reporting. Bureaucrats and corporate leaders discovered that division was a tool for control. The result? A self-replicating system where each new generation was trained to tear down what their ancestors had built. Consider these examples. A historian says, "There are no objective facts, only perspectives." Translation: history is rewritten to serve ideology. A teacher says, "Math is racist because it assumes one correct answer." Translation: reality itself becomes a matter of opinion. A journalist says, "It's not about reporting truth, it's about advocating for justice." Translation: the press is no longer a watchdog but a weapon. These are not fringe ideas. They have become the dominant worldview in elite circles. This ideological shift wasn't planned in a war room. It happened organically. The universities trained the activists. The activists infiltrated media and government. The bureaucrats and executives, fearing backlash, embraced the new orthodoxy. And now the same institutions that once defended free speech, rational inquiry, and individual liberty enforce rigid ideological dogmas. Dissent is punished. Critical thinking is branded as dangerous, all in the name of progress. So, where does this leave the West? A civilization that conquered disease, expanded human rights, and reached the moon, now consumed by self-doubt and ideological warfare. And who led it here? Its own elites? Not because they were foreign agents, but because they were convinced that destroying their own foundations was virtuous. If the West is to survive, it must first recognize this hard truth. It was never conquered. It surrendered. The only question that remains is whether it will wake up in time.